open to men and women of both parties, open to the critics as well as those who support us. We want to bridge the generation gap. We want to bridge the gap between the races. We want to bring America together.
I shall continue my personal commitment to the cause of human rights, of peace, and to the betterment of man. If I have helped in this campaign to move these causes forward, I feel rewarded. I have done my best. I have lost. Mr. Nixon has won. The democratic process has worked its will. So now let's get on with the urgent task of uniting our country.
Direct from CBS News election headquarters in New York, in color, this is the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite and Eric Severide in New York, John Hart in New York, David Shoemaker in Minneapolis, and Nelson Benton in Montgomery, Alabama.
Good evening. Richard Milhouse Nixon, in a remarkable political comeback, narrowly has been elected the 37th President of the United States. But like 12 of his predecessors, he must preside without a mandate, the chief executive taking office with a minority vote. And with a divided government, a Congress controlled by Democrats, he must lead a divided nation. Nixon's victory, a very slim one, did not become assured until late this morning. The counting has proceeded throughout the day, and the late returns now show. In the popular vote, with 94% of the vote counted, Humphrey, 29,677,152. Nixon, 29,726,409. Wallace, 9,291,807. 43% for Humphrey and Nixon, 13% for George Wallace. However, as this election made absolutely clear, it is the electoral vote, not the popular vote, that decides the presidency. Texas's 25 electoral votes, Missouri's 12, still have not been firmly put into anybody's column. But today, when Illinois' 26 electoral votes went to Nixon, it gave the Republican more than the 270 he needed to win. And here's how the electoral vote stands. Nixon, 287, Humphrey, 166, Wallace, 5 southern states with 45. For several hours during the night and the morning, the outcome hinged on neck-and-neck races in several of the big states, Texas and Illinois, Ohio, New Jersey, California with its big block of 40. And during those hours, the possibility that this election might go to the House of Representatives for a decision seemed very real indeed. Thus, the makeup of the new House was being watched with close interest, and here's how that came out. The Democrats won 243 seats, the Republicans 187. Still undecided, 1 seat in which the Democrats are leading and 4 in which the Republicans are leading. At any rate, the House will be in the control of the Democrats. The new House will also contain 8 Negro representatives, and that's 2 more than the old House. The Democrats also lost some seats in the Senate, but they still maintain firm control there, too. Consequently, Nixon becomes the first president since the start of the two-party system to take office for his first term, with the opposition controlling the legislative branch. Let's look at the Senate returns. In Oregon, 15 Democrats were elected, 14 Republicans. There are still 2 races undecided for which Democrats are leading. The Democrats held 40 seats which were not up this year. That means they will have 57 in the new Senate. They had 63 in the old. They lost 6 seats. The Republicans had 26 holdovers, and the new Senate will have 40 Republicans, 3 more than earlier. There are still these undecided races. In Oregon, veteran Democratic Senator Wayne Morse found his bid for a 5th term the toughest of his political career, and here's how he stands in that contest with State Representative Robert Packwood. 97% of the vote counted. Senator Morse, 384,326. Robert Packwood, 385,732. 1,406 vote difference. Some other well-known figures on Capitol Hill fell victims of those Senate races. Democrats A.S. Mike Monroney of Oklahoma and Joseph Clark of Pennsylvania, for example, lost. Others, such as Birch Bayh, the Indiana Democrat, won close victories. And while still others, such as Arkansas's Democrat W.J. Fulbright, had little trouble. In one closely watched race between 2 newcomers seeking national office, Liberal Democrat Alan Cranston defeated conservative Republican Max Rafferty for the Senate in California. The Republicans fared better in increasing their share of the governorships, and let's take a look now at that board. And the Democrats have elected 7, the Republicans 10. The Democrats had 11 state houses that were not up for election this year, the Republicans 18. So the Democrats will have 18 Republican governors. They had 24 before yesterday. The Republicans will have 28. They had 26 before. Ultimately, the Republican presidential victory probably will cost to that party, however, one of their governorships. Maryland has no office of lieutenant governor. Therefore, when Spiro Agnew becomes vice president, he'll be replaced as governor by a successor chosen by the Democratic-controlled state legislature. And one of the Republican victories was not decided until very early today. Arkansas Governor Winthrop Rockefeller's bid for a second term. And here are the returns from Arkansas's gubernatorial race. Rockefeller, 270,516. Marion Crank, the Democrat who would have unseated him, 259,890 with 95% of the vote in. We'll have more of the election story in a moment.
You don't see many wild stallions anymore. No, you don't see many wild stallions anymore. And even if he did run off 3 of your best mares, he's one of the last of a wild and very singular breed. Come to where the flavor is. Come to Marlboro country.
The electro-coated Persona gives such a smooth, comfortable shave. Why shouldn't injector users have a smooth, comfortable shave too? Introducing the electro-coated injector blade.
Before flying from New York for a brief call on former President Eisenhower in Walter Reed Hospital in Washington and a 3-day vacation in Key Biscayne, Florida, Nixon made his victory statement. John Hart reports.
As you probably have heard, have received a very gracious message from the Vice President congratulating me for winning the election. I have also had a telephone conversation with him, and I thought I might share with you and also our television audience some of the thoughts that I expressed to him in that telephone conversation. I congratulated him for his gallant and courageous fight against great odds. I admire a fighter, and he proved himself to be one. He never gave up, and he gave us a good fight. I also told him that as he finished this campaign, that I know exactly how he felt. I know how it feels to lose a close one. Having lost a close one 8 years ago and having won a close one this year, I can say this: winning's a lot more fun. But I would like to express to him and also to the thousands that worked for him, because he, like myself, had a great corps of volunteer workers, many young people as well as others, a bit of philosophy that has guided me through the years of defeat toward this victory, and it is this: a great philosophy is never won without defeat. It is always won without fear. What is important is that a man or a woman engage in the battle, be in the arena, participate. And I hope that all of those that supported Mr. Humphrey will continue their interest in politics. They will perhaps be in the other party. We may be contesting again, who knows. But the important thing is that our process in this country works better when we have devoted, dedicated people giving their all in battle for a cause that they believe in. And I would urge particularly the young people who supported him and lost not to be discouraged, but to continue their interest and to go on to other areas of public service. Now, I think all of you probably wondered how I felt about winning the election, and naturally in my press conferences I always gave the appearance of complete optimism. We were going to win. That is what you have to say. But I want all of you to know that there are moments when we have doubts. And all of us had doubts, but there was one member of our family, I learned, that had no doubts at all. Because immediately after we saw the final return this morning at 9:30 or so on television that the Illinois votes were now considered to be in our column, my daughter Julie asked me to come into her room, that she had a present for me that she had made and worked on all the time during these trips that she was taking across the country. And when you see this present, you will see she never had any doubt at all. Here it is.
President-elect Nixon, facing a Democratic Congress and a nation in which more people voted against him than for him, has already begun to grope for unity. He views the presidency, in a borrowed phrase from Theodore Roosevelt, as a bully pulpit to be used for a national conversion to unity and morality. It would be, in the words of one Nixon man, a presidency with a minimum of pageantry. Richard Nixon believes that fitting because in the next 4 years, he says, it is the most critical period of the nation's history. His heroes of style include Woodrow Wilson, Charles de Gaulle, Konrad Adenauer, Alcide de Gasperi, all of whom shared a public dignity that preferred respect to love. But one suspects that 4 years from now, on a day similar to this one, Richard Nixon will have worked very hard to receive both. John Hart, CBS News, in the Grand Ballroom of the Waldorf, New York.
This is the distinctive shape of the crystal clear bottle that holds the great premium beer. Famed in all 50 states and in over 50 foreign countries. This is Miller High Life beer. This is true beer flavor. This is true beer quality. Now more popular than ever, simply because Miller makes it right. Miller High Life, the champagne of bottled beer.
The democratic process has worked its will, Humphrey said, in conceding defeat at the Minneapolis hotel where he had awaited the outcome. That story from David Shoemaker.
Hubert Humphrey told his closest aides he didn't want any sympathy. Well, what he said was he didn't want any of their damn sympathy. Mr. Humphrey said they had fought their fight, and they had fought well. They had nothing to be ashamed of. And for a man known for an inability to hide his emotions in public, Humphrey did manage to restrain himself this morning, although a choking voice gave him away.
Well, thank you very much. It's nice to know. I'm sure you know that I have already called Mr. Nixon, expressed to him our congratulations. And I've sent the following telegram just a few moments ago to Mr. Nixon. It reads as follows. According to unofficial returns, you are the winner in this election. My congratulations. Please know that you will have my support in unifying and leading the nation. This has been a difficult year for the American people. I'm confident that if constructive leaders of both our parties join together now, we shall be able to go on with the business of building the better America we all seek in a spirit of peace and harmony. Signed, Hubert H. Humphrey. Now, go have some fun. It's been a lot of hard work. I don't want anybody to have any extra sympathy. As a matter of fact, what I'd like to have you do is just redouble your efforts to do what you thought you were doing and what I thought I was doing. Maybe we can make an even greater contribution to the things that are important in this country. I really don't feel very badly. I actually feel that we've done a heck of a job. I don't want you to think we'll continue the campaign right away, but I just thought you ought to know you maybe ought to have a little rest. We intend to take some. We're not quite sure just what we're going to do with the next few days. We're going to stay out here in Minnesota. I haven't mowed the lawn for some time, and there still is a few things to do out at our place. As a matter of fact, I feel a great sense of both release and relief. And I hope and pray that all of you will feel the same way. I want you to be of good cheer. I'd like to have you feel a little happy. It's not easy, but quite frankly, this was an uphill fight all the way. I was the first one to know it, and I think the last one on the line of my staff that recognized it. I never had any doubt but whether it would be a close fight. Come see, come saw, you know, one way, one. It bounced a little one way, bounced a little another. We've got a president-elect. He's going to have my help. Cheers.
The question now, of course, is what next for Hubert Humphrey? He will, he says, work for the unification and reform of the Democratic Party. His aides say he will be speaking and perhaps teaching. Most often heard is speculation that if Eugene McCarthy does not run for the Senate, Humphrey might. But there is a more distinct possibility. It is reported by several men who know Humphrey well that Humphrey himself prefers to run for governor of Minnesota in 1970. David Shoemaker, CBS News at Humphrey headquarters.
From his Texas ranch, President Johnson sent congratulations to Nixon and expressed the hope, in his words, that our people will turn now from divisive contentions of the political campaign to a united search for peace and social justice. The president also commended Humphrey for a vigorous campaign. Humphrey's running mate, Senator Edmund Muskie, sent his congratulations and a pledge of cooperation in seeking peace at home and abroad to Governor Spiro Agnew. The winning vice presidential candidate, in turn, complimented Muskie's sincerity. The Soviet news agency TASS, in reporting the election to the Russian people, emphasized that Nixon failed to draw a majority of the popular vote and that he won only by obtaining enough votes in what it called the archaic and undemocratic Electoral College. TASS also predicted rough going for Nixon in dealing with a Democratic Congress.
Button up your overcoat when the wind is free. Take good care of yourself. You belong to me. Eat an apple every day. Get to bed by 3. Take good care of yourself. You belong to me.
But if you just happen to catch a cold, let Contact take good care of you. From the day your cold comes on till your symptoms are gone. Contact with the tiny time pills.
Lips chapped? Here's something new. Ski Lip Saver. 4 flavors: spearmint, lime, orange, mint, and neutral. Ski Lip Saver. Good tasting medication for chapped lips.
In electoral votes, George Wallace carried only 5 deep South states, but he piled up the largest number of popular votes of any third-party candidate in history. And in that, he said, he considered his candidacy successful. His reaction to the outcome came at a news conference in Montgomery, Alabama.
Of course, I want to say to Mr. Humphrey that both of us occupy the same position now politically. We both lost the race for the presidency, and we do have something now in common. Of course, the impact that we made was making both National Party candidates say some of the same things we were saying. And if you will notice on the last night of the election, Mr. Nixon talked about everything from school children to the Supreme Court of the United States to the matter of law and order. So the impact of our movement turned the other two parties in a different direction. And had we not been in this campaign, in my judgment, the issues would have been different, and some of the statements and speeches made by the winner and the loser would never have been made.
South Vietnamese government sources expressed pleasure over the Republican victory. There was no immediate public reaction by Saigon, but Reuters quoted one official as saying the Thieu regime is confident that Nixon will take a harder line against the communists than the Democrats would have. In Paris today, the North Vietnamese accused the United States of breaking an agreement with Hanoi by delaying the opening of the expanded Vietnam talks. But U.S. representatives emphasized again that they will not go ahead with those meetings without Saigon. President Thieu has refused so far to send a delegation because of Viet Cong participation as a separate entity at the negotiations. But a spokesman said that Thieu would come out with a peace proposal of his own within the next few days. He gave no details. In the war, the U.S. command reported that enemy gunners shot down 4 American helicopters in actions west and northwest of Saigon. 1 crewman was killed and 6 were wounded. And Viet Cong explosives knocked out a big section of an important 2-lane bridge 14 miles from Saigon. Only 4 months old, that bridge. It was one of the busiest in the country. 150 supply trucks crossed it daily to supply 2 U.S. divisions based northwest of the capital. New anti-Soviet demonstrations broke out in Czechoslovakia tonight on the eve of the 51st anniversary of Russia's Bolshevik Revolution. In Bratislava, thousands of students ripped down Russian flags and burned them in the streets. And in Prague, troops had to seal off a 15-block area around the National Theater to prevent demonstrators from interrupting a performance of a Russian ballet. There were no immediate reports of violence in either city.
You might say that Phillips 66 Trop Arctic motor oil is for the birds because it helps prevent air pollution. Trop Arctic keeps the air clean by keeping your engine clean, so the anti-smog device in your car will keep working. The secret is a patented detergent additive made only by Phillips 66. It helps Trop Arctic soak up engine blow-by gases and fumes and hold them until you change oil, when they all drain away. And that makes it nice all around. For you, for your engine, for the birds. Change to Trop Arctic, the anti-pollution motor oil, only from Phillips 66, where it's performance that counts.
The Roman Catholic Primate of Poland, Stefan Cardinal Wyszynski, arrived at the Vatican today for a 1-month visit. It's his first trip outside of Poland since the communist government placed him under a travel ban there 3 years ago. Vatican sources expressed hope that the visit would lead to improved relations between the church and the Warsaw regime. And a Vatican newspaper today called Jacqueline Kennedy a public sinner. It said her marriage to the divorced Aristotle Onassis did not excommunicate her from the Catholic Church, but was in effect a renunciation of her own faith. Charles Munch, the famed conductor of the Paris Symphony Orchestra, died in his sleep today in Richmond, Virginia, where he was on tour. Munch, who was 77, was for many years conductor of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. Prices advanced briskly on the New York Stock Exchange today at the first news that Richard Nixon had been elected president. But later, profit-taking cut back some of those gains. On a volume of 12,600,000 shares, the exchange index gained 10 cents. Eric Severide, having had, like the rest of us, a few hours of badly needed sleep, has some fresh thoughts on the job ahead for the president-elect.
The president-elect put it accurately this morning. The great task is to unite the American people. This cannot be done, never has been done in any degree approaching universality, save in a great war, for we are a quarrelsome people because we're a free people. But there is much that must be healed and reconciled. It is not done by efficient organization. The presidency is not really an administrative function. It is an act of moral leadership. Mr. Nixon must now establish himself with the American people. The election has not properly done that because it was so evenly divided, and he has received several millions less than a majority vote. But John Kennedy also came into office roughly in that uncertain condition, and he built from there. So did Woodrow Wilson, so for that matter did Lincoln. There will now be a revitalizing of the minds and the climate of the national capital. The outgoing administration is indeed weary from its long burdens, and fresh men would have been required even if the presidency had remained in Democratic Party hands. Work on this transition has been underway for some time. All this should go rather smoothly. Mr. Nixon's people are efficient and knowledgeable people. The real test will come later on. It will begin with the new president's relations with Congress and with the working press. The Congress remains in opposition hands, and Mr. Nixon's relations with the press have always been tentative at the best. The men he now chooses for the top policy-making positions and the impact of his inaugural will have much to do with answering the question of whether he can make positive use of the benefit of the doubt that the American people always give a new leader. This is not a Republican restoration approaching the Eisenhower election. Mr. Eisenhower had a uniting and healing influence because he was a national symbol seemingly above partisanship. Mr. Nixon has always been a committed fighter, a total party man, and therefore a divisive influence himself. All his life he has struggled to win support. Now he must invest it, risk it, spend it, if he is to make it grow and multiply. In the country's present troubled condition, the supercaution will almost surely be the worst part of valor. And the president-elect has indicated he will not play that role. The time of the passive president, he has said, is all over. Walter?
And that's the way it is. Wednesday, November 6, 1968. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News. Good night.
3 out of 4 grown-ups' tooth losses are caused by gum problems, not cavity problems, gum problems. Here's something that'll help maintain healthy gums. Roxident. It's scientifically engineered to help firm up and keep your gums healthy as you brush your teeth with 3,600 up and down brush strokes a minute. Roxident, the automatic toothbrush that more dentists surveyed recommend than all others combined.
Here's Shirley Hughes. She's 36 and a perfect size 10. Shirley knows a lot of weight-watching tricks because she cares about herself. Her favorite is Sweeta. No calories, not a one. And Shirley knows a good thing when she tastes it because Sweeta tastes as good as sugar. Try it yourself. Sweeta, liquid or tablets, sweet as sugar, no calories. We don't claim Sweeta can perform miracles, but it sure makes life a little sweeter.
Direct from CBS News election headquarters in New York, in color, this has been the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite.